I also do the Blue Star Lemurian Reiki, which
Okay.
is a Reiki from, you can say, a different planet. We're also going to be, leaving the 3D behind kind of energy.
Mm.
Not fully, of course,
Mm.
but it also makes us more crystalline because we're remembering more of like our true nature kind of energy. As women, our womb is the center, so it's like we should be like really working our energy like out like that,
Like what are some proper ways of caring for the womb aside from from working with the womb Sobada?
Howdy, fam. Have you ever wondered what Reiki is? I have, and I've gotten Reiki done a few times. So to answer that question, I bring on a good friend of mine, Lilia Morales, who actually did some Reiki on me right before this episode. She is a Reiki practitioner and a womb Sobada. And in the episode, we discuss exactly what Reiki is, where it came from, and a couple different types of Reiki. We also discuss, for all my sisters out there, womb health and the importance of maintaining and being conscious of your womb and being conscious and working with your cycles. Also, we discuss something cool that's just starting to come into my awareness these days: conscious birthing and orgasmic birthing. Pretty interesting, huh? Check out the episode, and I'll see you on the other side.
Well, I just wanted to pray like for us, because I know this is like a big step for you and towards doing what you want, and like I'm just happy to share what I know, but I'm also taking that serious. Like it's just like it has so much more depth, and it's just like with so much more purpose too. I like honed into the feminine energy and like bringing back that respect and that honor between like that feminine energy in all people, not just the females, like in the masculine energy. So I hope that that's translated well today. And yeah, like I'm just thankful for all of our ancestors and the gods and the goddesses that are guiding us, and like our past lives where we've gathered all this information and we're like beginning to remember it so we can apply it like where it needs to. So to more of us being like in our purpose.
Hariom.
And my last Reiki client, she prayed over us, and I'm just like, oh, like I'm grateful that people are open to this.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Aw, thank you for
And it
sharing
shifts
that.
like everything.
That's awesome. Oh, well, so this is my friend Lilia Morales. Lilia, tell us who you are.
My name is Lilia Morales, and currently I want to say, a business owner and an educator and also a wellness practitioner. So I do a lot of like different healing modalities that help the community like come back to their natural state.
I love that. And that's honestly something that's so inspiring about you. And just like in our many conversations, like we randomly met. I do side work at grocery stores, and I just randomly met her. She does side work at grocery stores too, and we connected, and then I had bounced across the country to Michigan for a little while, for a few months, but we stayed in contact, and like we just had very long text threads growing on Instagram, and just like I was like, wow, this woman's really dope. But then I came back to LA, and I was like, we started hanging out more. I'm like, man, this woman's like, she's like a sister.
Yeah.
So I really am grateful for you. I'm really appreciative for you. I appreciate your spiritual nature and the knowledge that vibrates in you a lot, and we have a lot of flow in our conversation. So that's a big reason why I wanted to have you on here as my first guest.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm glad that we have been able to connect in this way as well. It's very powerful and purposeful, it feels like.
Absolutely. So you are a healer as well.
Yes.
What modalities do you practice?
I practice Reiki, two different kinds of Reiki, and then I also do body work. So I do fire cupping and womb sobadas as well.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Let's start with Reiki, because I actually just got a Reiki session done with Lilia. before this. It's really interesting. That was the third Reiki session I've ever gotten done. I find it to be very subtle, but very potent and very powerful.
Yeah.
What types of Reiki do you practice?
I practice the traditional Usui Reiki. That was like why it originated in Japan, but it's universal life force energy, so it's kind of always been around. And I also do the Blue Star Lemurian Reiki, which is a Reiki from, you can say, a different planet.
Okay. So Blue Star Lemurian Reiki. So, and a different planet. What do you mean? Like, can you explain that?
Yeah. So the Blue Star is Sirius. Like a lot of people are familiar with Sirius B. And then it's connected to Lemuria because according to like the galactic history, which we're part of, the many planets helped seed the Earth humans, Earthlings. But also Sirius, the planet Sirius, was like a big one because they're also one of the closest beings from the galaxy that are closest to our frequencies. So they're a little bit higher dimensional, but they're also like kind of, in a sense, you can look at it as like our higher selves, or like, you know, us that have already like ascended. So in a sense, they're helping us energetically because of that.
When you speak of frequencies, and like, I'm familiar with what you're talking about, but just so like we can get clear on it.
Yeah.
Frequencies, what do you mean by that?
Well, they're in a different dimension, I guess that's what I mean. So like right now we're supposedly in 3D, right? So it's like 3D is like our physical bodies, and it's also like sadly run right now. Well, I feel like it's shifting, but it's like it's dominated through like power and control and like fear and stuff like that. And as we ascend and like awaken our consciousness to like different states of being, we're also gonna be, you know, leaving the 3D behind kind of energy. Not fully, of course, but it also makes us more crystalline because we're remembering more of like our true nature kind of energy.
Can you explain this further? Because this is something that I'm just now starting to understand. And actually, you helped me kind of understand this more fully. You gave me this really interesting book. What was it called?
The Pleading Keys?
No. Oh, I should read that one though too.
Yeah, that one's good.
That was I think you said read this one for Sunshine Before the Dawn.
Oh yeah, that one was great.
Yeah. Sunshine Before the Dawn, which it's an interesting book. It's an interesting story almost, where this woman had channeled this story from time immemorial about the prehistory of humanity here on Earth, and it reads like a fictional book, but
you feel it.
It like
as truth.
Yeah, like it resonates as something deeper. And I recommend this book highly. It's a relatively quick read. You know. So then the Pleiadian Keys is the second one.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, I would recommend that you read that one
too.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is the Pleiadian Keys about then?
That one is more about the Earth key, so it tells you like, you know, like why it's important to honor the goddess, like why the sun is important, how the plants, the herbs are kind of like universal keys to help us awaken like our true nature. And yeah, like it talks a lot about the balance between like our energies too, like feminine and masculine. So it's just like pretty much the basics of what is real, you get me, in nature, literally, but also that connects us to like our cosmic origins, you know. And it's like the magic of the earth kind of energy.
Well, in Vedic science, which I'm delving deeper into my knowledge of, so as this channel evolves, my knowledge will probably evolve too. But in Vedic knowledge, so the sun we call Surya, the god of light. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. I know.
Yeah,
I'm a bad Indian. What can I say? But Surya, the sun is almost like our source of light, of source consciousness, in this realm.
Yeah.
And so source consciousness has many different light frequencies, but ours, the sun is almost a direct contact to it, always shining on us. And as I understand frequency at this point, we are all essentially just frequency. We're all sound. In most major religions, I know Christianity, I know in Vedic traditions, they say that in Christian traditions, it was the word of God was first, right?
Yeah, like sound.
Yeah.
And sound is frequency,
Yeah.
and it's energy, and we're all just energy.
Yeah. And then in Vedic science, it was a roar, almost like a lion's roar. So it was a sound at the beginning.
Yeah,
of it.
exactly.
And so really, what sound frequency that we vibrate at?
Yeah.
Is what you mean.
Yeah.
So we're vibrating at a 3-dimensional frequency right now.
Yeah.
And we're shifting towards a 5-dimensional frequency.
Yeah.
So what does that shift kind of entail then?
Yeah, I'm not a professional at this because it's like I'm still learning, you know, but I know that 3D right now, because of like the matrix and the control and the powers that be or whatever in this realm and reality, it's being controlled in a way where it's just trying to keep like the fear among us, and like literally like ascending is breaking out of that fear and like the programmings excuse me, and the conditioning of everything, and just like ascending. And it's like our true nature is literally like freedom, enlightenment. But also it's like I've been hearing lately that authenticity is like even more powerful. You know, because have you seen those charts that have like the different levels of like frequencies, and like at the top is like enlightenment, and then I think below it's joy, and then there's like all these other ones like anger, and like
I know what you're talking about, and I always forget who does this. I talk about this frequently to people. It's an interesting chart that kind of describes the different sound vibrations that relate to which emotion, and it allows you to kind of like gather an assessment of how to elevate upwards from where you currently are. But what's interesting that this chart doesn't say, and it's something that like I've actually noticed, I saw it on an Instagram channel actually, but like all of these different emotions are just different frequencies of love.
Literally, yeah.
And they're all just different equations of how love fits in.
Or like a lack of love, but it's like through our intention of ascending and opening up to that love or consciousness, it's like we're able to just like, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so Blue Lemurian Reiki.
Yeah.
That was an interesting spinoff, but I feel it was necessary because like in order to understand the origins of that, you need to like
understand this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how'd you get into practicing Reiki?
So back in 2015, like late 2015, I was in San Francisco for school, like college. I was attending San Francisco State University. And by 2015, it was my 3rd year there already. But I was feeling like I had so much anxiety, and I had so much like depression at the same time. So it's like I was never in my body, like feeling good. It was always like memories of the past, or like just numbness, you know. And I remember my friend at that time, she was one of my best friends there. And she was just like, just come back to LA. And also it's like, I have to say that because I was a first generation like college person, like my parents are Mexican immigrants, and they didn't know how to necessarily support me through this transition. And like my higher self just knew that I wanted to get the hell out of my house and like the place that brought me pain, like the environment, the city, LA, you know. So I left to San Francisco because that was one of the only places that I've ever traveled to. So to me, it's like, oh, it's another city, you know, and I'll be able to like discover myself. Like I wasn't thinking this consciously, but that's literally what I was doing. So in 2015, my friend was like, just come back to LA. Like, if it's not working out there, you can't like force yourself. And then she was saying something like, oh, there's going to be an earthquake. Like, you should come die with us. And I'm like, you're right. I should go back.
This is 2015?
2015. Yeah, I don't even know what earthquake she was talking about, to be real.
I think there was an earthquake around that time.
Yeah.
As a weird sidebar, so I moved to LA 10 years ago.
Around
and
this time, 10 years ago.
October, end of September, end of
Okay.
September of 20,
14 or 15?
2014.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because this is the 10th year.
Yeah.
Easy math. Come on, Smee. Yeah. No, I moved here end of September 2014, and I never experienced an earthquake up until just this last one that we experienced. I was always out of town when an earthquake struck.
Yeah.
And so I think this is one of those ones where, like, I saw it on the news in the airport. I had just landed and I saw that there was an earthquake. I was like,
yeah.
Come on. Not that I'm asking for an earthquake universe.
No.
That'd be so weird
I
if
know.
it showed up right now. But yeah, earthquakes. So
I came back in 2015, and yeah, as soon as I came back, I was already doing yoga classes actually in college. So that's how I learned, and I saw that it was actually helping me, because that's what brought me to the realization and awareness of like, oh, there's stuff to like look at within my being, you know. And like there's stagnancy, there's stuckness, you know. And yeah, so I took yoga classes there in college, and then coming back to LA, I'm from East LA, Montebello now, but they're right next to each other. And there's this place called People's Yoga. A lot of people from East LA or Boyle Heights know that place. It's a yoga studio, amazing people that started it. Beautiful. And actually my teacher who I learned from, his name is Larios. He did yoga at that studio, and he also did Reiki. And I went to go try a session with him, and that's where I liked it, because he literally just shifted my life by telling me, oh, whenever you're feeling like down, just look up at the sky and like know that you're not alone, you know?
Yeah.
And that was so like, yeah, it shifted my perspective in in such a grand way, and it was something so simple. And that's what reminds me of you saying like Reiki is like subtle, but it's very powerful, and that's literally what it is, you know. But I do want to say that I'm thankful that my friend who introduced me to Larios, and we did the Reiki training together, she picked a class for us. And I remember we were looking like for different trainings and different things that would call us to. But this one teacher, her name is Anna Marie Stark from Pasadena, she called to us because she had a 6-month training for level 1 Reiki. So there's level 1, level 2, and level 3 in the Usui, which the one that I studied in 2015. And yeah, her 6-month course was everything, because nowadays, and what I started noticing after I did Reiki, my Reiki trainings, is that a lot of like Reiki practitioners that are Reiki masters who can teach Reiki offer like a weekend course or something. But it's like, that's not like, it sounds more like they're doing it for the money rather than like, because a weekend course doesn't allow me to like connect with the actual teacher and like build that trust and intimacy where I can come and feel good about like sharing my process with them, you know.
But it's also like connecting with the energy and connecting with the frequency in a very real, sustained way. Especially if you're not like, if you're not just harnessing the energy for yourself, but you're harnessing the energy to pass on to others. Yeah. It seems like you would want a more fuller process.
Like build up the energy. Yeah.
I know that when I do yogic practices, you know, like it takes time for the energy to evolve and cultivate in the system in a certain way, and to shift through the system. So I can only imagine when you're trying to harness that energy in a healing process, you would need time for it to really kind of flourish.
Yeah, and integrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the more you do it, the more you like experience it, you know, and you like kind of like become it in a sense, you know. But it's like it's opening you up to like just like more consciousness, like more God particles, etc. Yeah. So my teacher, she was like a 6-month course, so she really stayed, and I think it was like 2 times a month. I mean, 2 weekends out of the month, and it was all day, and she would just like really teach us about like the subtleties of like everything that Reiki touches. You get me? Like the physical, like mental, emotional, and spiritual. And she would just show us like different practices. She would have her Reiki master students, which is like level 3, like come to our courses, and we would like practice on them, and then they would practice on us. They would talk to us about their experience so far during all these months and years, because it's like if it's 6 months for one and then 6 months for another one and 8 months for the last one, like imagine how much information she like taught them and they learned from her.
Yeah.
They would share all that with us, and it's like that's how I really felt like supported,
Sounds like
so it was definitely a nice experience with Reiki, because you're like really integrating it and like navigating, whereas a weekend course it's just like, oh, it was connective, but like now I'm out in the wild, and then that can bring so much like chaos really too.
Yeah, because like you're unaware of what you're doing when you just get attuned and you go out into the world, like you're not really familiar with the circumstances you may come across. But It sounds like the training that you went through, working with level 3 students who were practitioners as well, not just your teacher. You had like a more thorough process to understand what could come along in the process. And something I feel like is concerning for me about learning Reiki. Satguru is somebody whom I consider a guru, simply just because I've learned a lot from him, and he's spoken on the potential downsides to practicing healing arts, because what it could do is it could potentially put the practitioner into risk to getting the karma of the other person. But it sounds like when you go through this, that happens if you're not really conscious about how to use the energy. You're just using it haphazardly. But it sounds like if you go through a fuller program, you learn how to harness it, you learn how to be with it, you learn what risks could come along with harnessing this energy and how to protect yourself.
Yeah, and that's one thing that my teacher talked a lot on, for level 1. Like throughout the 6-month course, she would always be like, in the booklet that she gave us, and there was this other book that she also made us buy of Reiki, but then like the booklet she wrote it was her own thing. It literally talked about protection, like there's so many ways to protect yourself, like through crystals, through your own like calling in like the golden light, or like me right now, one way of protecting myself is wearing this rebozo, because it like protects my womb, and it's like our sacral sexual energy, creative energy is what we're in a sense protecting, you get me, because it gets harnessed in like so many ways. So that's one thing, because think about it, if I took like a weekend class and like for level 1 and my teacher was just like vaguely emphasized or talked about protection, then I would have just gone out not even being mindful of that. And I don't know what would have happened. Maybe I would have had a whole different experience, and maybe even a denser experience. I think having protection in mind was like very key, and also not like protection as like be in fear. It's like, no, protect your aura, your energy field. Make sure that it's good so you can share of that. And also with the Reiki, it doesn't do any harm, like naturally it doesn't create any harm. So it's like that's not even a thing. It's God consciousness, like God doesn't harm you, like God is good kind of energy. So it's like in that space, and it's like, so protection is important for sure.
Is key.
And like taking your time to integrate the energies, not just getting a training. And like if you're doing it because of the money that you're potentially going to get, then I would say like reconsider your intentions around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's helpful guidance for sure.
Yeah.
Like I mean, in my yogic journey, I tend to have a just in life really, I tend to have an energy to be scurry about things, but I feel like in these processes, it's constant. At least in the yogic practices, it's a constant notation that once you go deeper in the practice, you need to be patient with the energies.
It's doing its thing.
So what is the attunement process for Reiki? Like, how do you receive this energy to be able to pass on to others? I know that you had said, or I don't know if you did say, but I know that we all kind of have this energy with us. So like, how do you then like get access to this energy and share it with others and use it for others?
Well, that one's a little bit layered in regards of like So Usui discovered Reiki, right? Because I took Usui Reiki. I don't know, because there's different forms of Reiki. Usui from Japan, this man that discovered, and his story was that he was on Mount Fuji, and he was fasting for 21 days, and on the 21st day, like he literally just saw the Reiki universal energy like come down through his crown. So it's like through his experience, he was able to realize what Reiki was. So essentially, it's like us opening our energies to a
Just like
higher
opening our channel.
consciousness. Yeah, literally, because a lot of people, like, we all have sexual and creative energy, but not everyone is circulating it within their body and using it to like create. You get me? Like, it's actually quite literally like the opposite, where so much propaganda regarding fear or programming that's not even the healthiest, and like, you know, that promotes like toxic culture or like just like disconnected culture, really. You know, because when we're aware and we're in our heart space, we act differently because we know better. Like, we've accessed different feelings of love, you know, or consciousnesses of love. What was your question?
Attuning.
Oh yeah, so that's how he did it and how he discovered Reiki. So then he felt called to share it with people, obviously from Japan first, because later it trickled down to other places around the world. But that's how Reiki is. But also Reiki is like, we have it already, but the attunement kind of creates that like intention of like opening ourselves up to, you know, the energy, and to actually use it to be the vessel of the energy to like share it with others in a pono, like righteous way, you know, a righteous way.
So, like, is it received through like sound then, or is it like it's just in the teaching, and like how does the energy come into you?
Oh yeah, so it's a ceremony, like an attunement they call it.
Okay.
And I mean, I've had two different teachers, and the the first teacher, it was a similar experience. No, it was different. The first teacher for level 1, Anna Marie Stark, she sat us all next to each other in chairs, and then it's like, it's symbols that we use, because for Reiki Usui we use symbols that mean different things. Like Chokurei is like a very popular one, and that one's kind of like an energizer. So let's say if I'm trying to find for parking, I'll like Chokurei that intention, and supposedly I'm gonna find, or it's gonna help me find parking sooner, kind of energy. And we, at least that's the intention, right? And then there's another sign that's for distance healing. So if you, because you can also do Reiki long distance, but you have
Like
to have
remote,
like a
right?
picture. Yeah, remote. You have to have a picture of the person or something that symbolizes them in your mind to like make that happen. And obviously their consent is important too.
Yeah.
So obviously if you're doing Reiki on someone, it's because they already told you that it's okay to do it on them. You know, like, you're not trying to send Reiki energy to people that aren't consenting to this. Because, not saying that you'll get bad karma, but why are you doing that? Like, you're not, that's none of your business, literally. You know? So like, more it also taught me a lot of like sovereignty within those realms, you know. Yeah. So the attunement was like, if I'm remembering correctly, they did tell us to eat like specifically like healthier foods before, like a few days before the attunement, so we can be open to the energies and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just like hand symbols that they did, because they're passing on these symbols to you so you can use them. And also just like they're also doing Reiki on you, and it's like a certain way. Like, I learned the Reiki master, so it's like a specific set of movements that you have to do around their body to like open them to that energy. It feels in a sense like not a mantra, but you know, that energy.
Yeah.
Like, you're passing on the vibration to them.
Like, I know that when I've received a few initiations into different practices, and it seems in Vedic practices, at least from my experience so far, it seems to be through like a chanting of sorts, like through it's through sound. Which, considering we're all just vibration, we're all just energy, that sound comes into you, and then it just becomes a part of your vibration. It starts at a small seed, and then it grows.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like similarly that's how this is done, but in a more physical way.
Yeah.
It's like passed on through physical symbology, and, like, and hand motion.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which essentially still is sound too. in its own way.
Yeah.
Silent sound.
Mm. So I was gonna ask. I had a question that kind of popped up in my mind, where like, this Reiki energy, is it? Do you think it's kind of synonymous to chi or like prana or the ether? Like ether is considered another element. Like, would you say it's like an ether, like the
Totally,
etheric
because you
dimension?
can't see it,
Or do you think it's more like prana, like it's connected to our energy body?
I would say, it's ether, but it's connecting to your energetic body.
Okay.
You get me? Because it's in the more you use it or the more you get healing from it, it's like opening your channels, this energy. So it's opening you
So
up.
it's opening
to
the energy body, but it's like source consciousness.
Yeah,
energy,
exactly. And it's healing at the same time.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's like helping you work with your own energy.
Okay. Interesting. So then, what can Reiki be used for?
Reiki can be used for a lot of things. It can be used on from a practitioner. It's like once you get attuned, you can heal yourself. You can share it with your friends and family. You can share it with animals, like if they're gonna get like surgery the next day or something, or if they're like, how sometimes there's anxious pets. You can do that and it'll help them like calm down more. You can use it to relax, to de-stress. It really helps the stress, like help de-stress stress on your physical body. And you can use it for like anxiety, like mental stuff. Like if you're always in your head, it helps you like ground back into your body, like to have harmonize your relationship with your body, bring more awareness to what you're doing and why you're doing. It can heal traumas too, but I feel like that's also, it'll either happen naturally, or if the person has that specific intention, then it'll definitely activate something within that realm to like heal your traumas. But obviously that's not like the only thing. Like there's so many ways and modalities and even like therapy to heal through that. So it just gives like, it helps your body relax and let go.
So it kind of brings alignment to the system through harnessing this energy and consciousness.
Okay.
Interesting. So then, what are some cool experiences you had in Reiki?
Oh yeah, I was sharing with you that one of this lady that got like, that she always had pain. She was like an older lady that I worked with back in 2017. And she wanted to try Reiki because she had heard about it. I think like her brother-in-law kept telling her about it or something. And then we worked together and I told her that I did it. So she was like, oh, I want to try it from you. So one day after work, she was like a computer, like administration stuff. And she would always be in the office just sitting down, but she was in so much pain, she would like hunch. So she was always like this, but it was hurting, but her body didn't know how to like come back to its normal like state, because I don't know what her trauma was, obviously. But yeah, I did Reiki on her. So she would take a lot of pills because of the pain, like a lot of pain meds. And I did Reiki on her for like 30 minutes. And she literally said it felt like she took like 2 pain pills. And her pain like literally went down, So that was magical because that's like, in a sense, like unheard of,
No, that's spectacular. It took me a long time to understand how to deal with pain in my body. I'm more conscious of it. It's still there, but now I'm conscious of it and how to like shift through it and how to like be aware of it. I realized in my journey that pain only ever wants to be acknowledged, just as any other trauma does.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when we're not acknowledging it, it'll become more severe. And it sounds like this is a tool to give quick and potentially ultimate acknowledgement, as long as the person receiving the Reiki is open to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it has, like it's also about consent. Like the energy will meet you. Like it's not gonna force you to like face something that you're not ready to face. It kind of works with you, I mean, I'm sure like if it's in people's karma, like the Kundalini stuff, like to just like awaken like that. But to me, in my personal life, like I feel like my higher self was like, no, we're just gonna like take our time and like
piece by piece.
Yeah, piece by piece. And honestly, I'm just grateful because it helps me understand and how to better the energy, what I'm experiencing, and like talking to you too about a lot of like the yoga practices and breath works that you do has given language to what I've experienced. And it's like all these years I didn't know exactly what was happening, you know. So yeah, it helps a lot of like defining that and giving it language, which is cool.
So how long do the side effects of Reiki last?
Oh yeah, I feel like I don't have like a definite answer. Definitive or definite?
Definite.
I feel like I don't have a
interchangeable.
Okay. I don't have a definite answer because like you said the last time when I asked you, oh, like have you ever gotten Reiki? And you were just like, yeah, but I didn't really feel anything. And then it's just like, oh, but here you are now.
Yeah.
Kind of energy. So it's also working on those levels, you know? But I feel like people feel like really good and energized like after the session, and I feel like it lasts like a whole day. And it's also too like if someone's like if it's their first time healing or like, you know, bringing awareness to their own cycles and patterns that keep them like down, the Reiki will allow you to experience a different state of being that you can like aim towards to, but it's not gonna stay like that if you're still going about your day the normal way of what's keeping you down. Does that make sense?
If you get
So you'd have to constantly,
if you're so wrapped up in your weights,
in your own ways, quote unquote,
then like the energy won't be as impactful.
Because the energy wants to work with you for the highest good.
But if you're open in a kind of free flow state where you're separated from your weights or you're in a relaxed state, then
or
the energy will be more impactful.
Or like because you're allowing and you're in that awareness that you're allowing the energy to work with you, it's like, okay, then I'm gonna keep that thought so I can keep like kind of like opening the doors to see where it's taking me, you know. But obviously I feel like also the more you do Reiki, the more you help expand that and open like these shifts in your life, you know, that are better for you, or how to relax your body. It can be simple too. It doesn't have to be like super extreme unless you want to like you're choosing to go there and use it in that way, you know.
Interesting. So then like so what would you say are the difference then between the two types of Reiki that you do, like the traditional versus the Blue Star Lunarian?
I like both of them. Lately I've been using the Blue Star a lot because I share what the benefits to people and they're like curious and they're open to that. So that's lovely because I'm glad that I get to share literally Reiki from a different planet, from Sirius B. I don't know if that recorded.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we already explained this. So it's like privilege and also just knowing the benefits of it, you know. So Usui Reiki is definitely like stress. It helps you heal the body. It helps you come back to like your true nature, which, you know how they say that Mother Nature vibrates at the 432 hertz. Wow, since she's rising, I don't know where that's even at right now.
That's
literally
a good point,
you know,
actually.
But from the last updated news that I heard, it was 432 hertz is what nature vibrates at, the hertz. So that's our natural state of being. But I'm sure as we ascend,
528 I think is the next
the heart, and honestly that's like a lot of people describe like the fifth dimension as like heart energy, like you're just like always in your flow on your purpose, like you're not seeking for anything outside of you, like you're whole. You get me?
Do you think that's like, and this is a slight detraction, but do you think that that is connected to do you think that's connected to like the age of Aquarius and the truth that's kind of
totally
coming out? Because it seems to me that like more and more and more deep truth is becoming revealed at a much more expedited rate, especially this year, like 2024. It seems like
after COVID, man.
After COVID, but like really, it just seems like
this
an
year, because
amplification.
it's time. Like you know, like Earth is like it's time.
Yeah, I agree.
And it is also Age of Aquarius. I feel like last year we might have still been collectively like closing out cycles of like still like Piscean energy, which Piscean energy, the age of Pisces, was a lot of like illusion. Like you can hide a lot of the truth through the illusions, which is Hollywood. Dude, and all that energy.
So much illusion.
Yeah.
Stitched into the fabrication of our society.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And that, yeah.
Like the Brother Truth stuff that we were talking
exactly,
about. And like Brother Truth, like this, and I will do a podcast on this, or I'll do an episode on this at some point, but like it's essentially breaking down into the deep contract law that we are built into as people without even knowing. A deep kind of state of contracts through common law, trust law. It's really interesting stuff. But the truth is being revealed.
Exactly.
And
Age
we're
of
all
Aquarius.
coming to know. Yeah. So then how does that kind of differ then from Blue Star Lemurian?
Oh yeah, so that's Usui Reiki. And then Blue Star is from the planet Sirius, and which is also connected, as we talked about, to Lemuria. And Lemuria was like actually a place here on Earth. So that's how Blue Sirius, like Sirius and Lemuria connect, because it's like Lemuria was on Earth, so it's like planets are connecting. You get me?
Yeah.
Which is a big deal because
the Lemurians were from Syria?
Literally, yeah. I mean, from all because all the planets like help seed us, the Earthlings. But yeah, like literally, that's like how we're so connected, because through Lemuria, and through Lemuria was their connection to not only Sirius but Pleiades and like Lyrans too, and like Orions. There's so many.
Interesting.
But these are the main ones, and this is how that connects to the Blue Star Reiki that I do right now, Lemuria. And then, so Blue Star Reiki, it's funny and interesting because I was telling you the last time that a lot of attunements that I've gotten so far with other healing modalities, if it dealt with like the energetics of things, which mostly everything does, it started from the root up. And because this is from the stars, it's like the atonements, it's 4 atonements. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes up, down. So that's also something that I noticed that was different from.
It's kind of reverse order.
Yeah, because it's like descending to Earth, but it's still coming from the stars, which is special.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if like the energetic system that it's tied to is different, because like the chakra system is a 7 chakra system in the human body.
Yeah.
And in all earthly creatures, actually. I'm reading this interesting book called the Shiva Swaradhya, and it talks about this, how the energy system is created here on the species, here on this planet. But this, because it's not of this planet, the energy system is now different.
Yeah, and and because of that too, it's like there's 4 different atonements that you get in your body, and one of them is called, the first one is called Blue Star, and then the second one is called the Blue Diamond, which lays like on your throat, and then the third one is the Blue Whale, so it's connecting us to the whale, the water energy. And so many like tribes, indigenous people of the land, like they all talk about like we come from the water, we come from the water, we are water, literally. And just how even that's a reflection to the water on Earth, and that's how much we're connected.
I came across this interesting kind of conversation about whales, and how whales were the first intelligent life on this planet long ago. And then something happened and they made a contract to be the knowledge of the earth. And so whales to this day are said to be the knowledgeable creatures of Earth. In fact, I saw this really interesting story just the other day on YouTube Shorts about, there was this yogi from ancient times, Masendranath. And as the story goes, when he was a child, a big whale came and gobbled him up and took him down to the bottom of the ocean, where he met Shiva and Parvati, and Shiva was teaching Parvati. Parvati was Shiva's wife. He was teaching.
Yeah, I've heard of her.
Yeah, he was teaching Parvati the deep secrets of Tantra and the deep secrets of yoga. And Matsendranath was there, and he heard all of this stuff. And then he lived in the whale for 12 years. And then after 12 years, he came back up to earth, and he was a fully enlightened being, woken to all of his siddhis, and then he passed on his knowledge. Siddhis are yogic powers.
So was he learning from Shiva? Is that like a mystery?
So I mean, there's a few different ways to translate this.
Yeah, or just like him being down there, he was like getting the codes.
There's a few different ways to translate this. The whale could be the symbolism of a unidentified submerged object, or like a submarine or something like that. That took them
like
down to
other
the
beings.
Mm-hmm. That could be it. However, there's also the tie-in that whales are the knowledge of the earth. And so I can't help but wonder if there's some connection there in this
there
story
is. Too. So Lemurians were already in the 5D, like we've only descended, that's why we're in the 3D now. And that's why like we seek outside of us, because we don't have our energies integrated or like that connection. So the Lemurians were very connected to the whales. Like there's all these pictures. I don't know if you've ever come across like Lemuria energy, and it's like these big like crystals and like patterns of like light, and the whales are very much connected to this because they swim all over the earth to the ley lines of the earth, and their energy is like so high vibrational that it's helping keep humanity still here, literally. And like their codes help us remember who they are. And that's why too, it's like I feel so connected to just the whales and dolphins in general because of my connection from Lemuria. So that's part of like, even so it's like such an honor to know this Blue Star Reiki, because it's taking me back to my origins. And it's like I'm still obviously fully understanding that, but it's so beautiful and magical, and it's like more people need to remember these things, so that's why the Blue Star whale, the blue whale, Lemurian energy that I the Reiki or whatever, healing energy, like it's connected to the whales through all that, but also it clears. And that's why too, like it seems like, oh, it's from a different planet, so it's like this Reiki does things that regular Reiki, or I mean, because it's still universal life force energy, you get me? So it's all encompassing, but this is more like vibrating at a different frequency. Yeah, like it's focused to specific things, right? The blue whale helps us clear DNA mutations, not only from this life but from past lives. So it's like it's going past just your right now, you get me, kind of energy. So it's like the blue star helps you connect to your DNA blueprint, so like why your purpose in life and stuff like that. So that's one of what's it's encoded with. And then the blue diamond that sits at your throat, it helps you connect to the elements and the 4 directions too. And it's like that's important elemental wise, especially since we are elements, and then also the blue whale, the DNA mutations, it helps you just remember. I'm assuming you're like blue, your life, your water origins, And then the last one is like by your feet, at the base of your feet, and that's the blue crystal Lemurian, like healing energy. That one's powerful because it also activates your crystalline body, which back in Lemuria too, we were not that carbon-based. Like right now we're creating the shift collectively, but back then we were already in our crystalline body. So we were already lighter in form, and that's why we were connected to so much more, And then, so the blue crystal also helps you activate your crystal body. It helps you with your Merkaba body, so you can like remember how to travel to different places from past or future, like literally the future too. And it helps you like go to different like planets if you want, like legit, and go study there, And obviously this is all like for higher purpose, like it's not gonna be for selfish gain,
For those who do not know, what is a Merkaba?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know everything about Merkaba, but what I do know is that it's like an energetic field that it's like a triangle, two triangles, one going up and one going down, and one of them goes this way and one of them circles the other way, the opposite way, and it's kind of like our vehicle to also just travel. Like it's good to work with it and like learn it in this physical because it helps us in the astral realms, because the astral realms, like when we go to sleep, we're in the 4D, so we're literally not here, so that's already another dimension. So it helps you just like navigate and I guess become more of a conscious dreamer essentially, you know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I had this kind of theory a little bit when speaking, a little bit different, but when speaking of ghosts, I feel like ghosts exist as a fourth dimensional entity.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of between the physical realm and not. And that's interesting that you say in the dream world we're in 4D as well, because that's kind of in that same place where it's like between the physical, the 3D physical dimension and the other level. It's like, oh.
And time is different too. Like if can I share something real
Please,
quick with
yeah.
like dreaming? So I remember one time I was dreaming that I was in this forest with a couple of people. I don't know who they were, but one of them was someone that I was seeing at that time. And in that dream, there was a cheetah, I think. And it came and it bit the person's hand that I was dating. Like it just like bit it. And then in the dream, I think that's why I woke up. I'm like, holy shit, like that was so like, and it was like I was seeing like the green. We were like in this forest or like jungle kind of vibe, and like the cats were coming and they were gonna attack us. And I was just like, hell no, I'm leaving. But somehow the person I was dating just stayed there out there, and the cat just like bit them. And then literally that happened. And then like two weeks later, we go hiking.
He did not get bit by a cheetah,
No,
did he?
no, no.
Oh, I was like...
No, it wasn't that like extreme.
Okay.
But I mean, in the dream, well, we'll talk about it after. But 2 weeks later, we went up to the mountains and we were trying to cut down a tree. And like I probably shouldn't say that, but whatever.
Whatever.
And a little tree.
Okay.
And with the tool that he was using, it actually hit that same left hand that where in the dream he got attacked. So it was like it didn't translate exactly like the dream, but literally in the dream it symbolized like, oh, danger, like something dangerous like bit you. And it's like the tool that he was using. He used it in a way that it hurt him. And I'm just like, bro, I literally had like this dream that something like this was gonna happen like 2 weeks ago. So also like the dream realm, the astral realm, it's like 4D, so time is different. It's not how we know it here. You know, it's interesting.
That's very interesting. That actually leads me to another question that's been kind of like brewing in between. Something I've been noticing a lot lately, and you might actually have some awareness of this. I've noticed that females primarily seem to have a deeper connection to their dream realm, to their dream realms, and they're like, there's almost, I've noticed a frequency that females almost have a precog ability or a natural innate precog ability with their dreams. A lot of women I know have this tendency.
Yeah, it's literally because we have wombs. Like our wombs are literally bringing like souls from like other dimensions, you know.
Yeah.
So it's literally just like our connection to that portal. We're portals.
I mean, women are absolutely portals. They bring life from a higher dimension to this physical realm.
And it's like the astral realm is kind of like already a higher dimension.
So that gives a greater access to the astral realm through intuition through the womb. Oh,
that's literally like in a sense what we call intuition too, you know, an aspect of it. Portal? Like being able to tap into that energy. That's literally intuition to an extent, you know.
Interesting. Huh. but men can tap into it too, not
I
women.
feel like it's just like
But
y'all
because
have
the
to be
organ is there,
intentional.
like it's because the energy is naturally already kind of vibrating
Yeah.
there. It's like more naturally attuned to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Versus like men have to work a little bit harder to tune
Yeah.
to the intuition, you'd think.
Like be
then.
more intentional or meditate. But that's also because of the programming of like the like society right now. You get me? Because if it was already like before in Lemuria, like men didn't have to do this. Like they were also in tune with nature because that was everyone's true nature. But because of the state of the world and how much we've descended, like this is what it is, you know, because Lemurians had their feminine and masculine energies already integrated. And that's why they didn't need anything outside of them to fulfill them. And one way that can be manifested is a partner. Like they didn't need that because they were already whole. So the reason why they would partner up with people was sometimes just pleasure, and sometimes was like, oh, I feel like a soul has chosen us to conceive them because it needs both of our DNAs to like bring them here. You get me? So it was a different, it's just because of the times. But that it's harder on men, and the programming like that makes a lot of men disrespect the feminine energy because it's not just women, you know, like and
That's so fascinating. I never actually made that connection, but that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for actually kind of answering that inside. Like, I love it. I learn from you all the time. And it's also kind of ironic because that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask you about next, which is one of your other healing modalities is a womb Sobada. What is that?
Yeah, so a womb Sobada, well, that's also layered, but let's see. How am I going to describe it? I feel like it's a...
Well, first off, what is Sobada?
Yeah, so Sobadas come from traditional Mexican medicine. Like you won't see this at the hospital. I mean, maybe some hospitals now, but you wouldn't go to the hospital and get a Sobada. It's mostly traditional healers, so people indigenous or like people that had family members who did this work already, you know. And it's literally body work. It's a massage, but it's like what I learned, it's like traditional Mexican medicine sobadas for women, and it's literally a massage in your abdominal area, your womb area, and then also like you can massage your legs because it's part of like the womb health and our connection to the earth. So that's also important because women also represent like the earth and the state of the earth. So the more you disrespect the feminine energy, you're also disrespecting Mother Earth. So it's like they have that connection where it's like as we heal the earth, naturally everyone heals because everything is life and comes from that source, you know. Okay. But yeah, a sobada comes from traditional Mexican medicine. A lot of like traditional healers use this modality, and not everyone knows how to do the womb sobada, and not all sobadores or sobadoras.
What are these? Again?
Sobadoras and sobadores, because this is a sobada, right? But the people who do it are called sobadores or sobadoras.
Okay. Gotcha.
But just because you know how to do womb sobadas doesn't mean that you're a full-on sobador, because a lot of sobadores and the sobadoras from Mexico, like they know how to just do the massage all over the body. And it's a healing art, so they're also like taking in consideration that your physical body is interconnected with your spirit. So it's like whatever, and they have that in mind already. You get me? Like, oh, whatever ails you in this physical world is coming from a spiritual like the root is spiritual, so they help you heal yourself too. So I didn't learn all that. I just know I'm learning about like the womb sobada specifically because I'm a doula. So it's like that's just like goes hand in hand, and it's like another tool added to my toolbox to help women heal, you know, postpartum, or also women that are trying to conceive, that have painful periods. Like it helps for so many things, but it originates from Mexico. And there are two types of the Mayan sobadas, and then the Mayan massage, and also the Mexican Sobada. So it's just like, it feels like, from what I learned, it's very geographical. You get me? Like certain parts of Mexico use the term Mexican Sobadas, and others use the Mayan abdominal massage. Okay. But it kind of is very similar.
So they're kind of like one and the same?
Yeah, but they don't say that they are one and the same. You get me? It's like they're kind of similar. Yeah.
Okay. So it's massage. Yeah. What does the massage do?
So the massage is pretty much also, my teacher didn't say this per se, but like learning from like the Dantian and like our chi and stuff like that, it feels like it's like, as women, our womb is the center. So it's like we should be like really working our energy like out like that, you know? And also it's our power center. So, and that's like where the portal literally lies too. So it's bringing back like our body into center with ourselves and like our higher selves and like our power too, and our compass, because in a sense our womb can be used as a compass too. And like learning how to honor like its cycles.
As a compass? How do you mean?
Like a compass, like you
like how could it be used as such? Like...
Well, in an intuition sense, where it's it's guiding you and your life and like what you're feeling.
Like a compass for life.
Yeah, exactly. And how to like properly take care of yourself, kind of energy as a woman.
And so like the Sobadas helps activate the intuition more.
Yeah, so it's also kind of like going into your subtle body, which I feel like it's your spirit, no? And it's like it's working. It's the Sobada is 50% spiritual and 50% physical. So it's like you're bridging both. You know, it's like that you're fabricing.
It
like
sounds almost
shifting the fabric in a sense.
It sounds almost like craniosacral massage. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of that. I don't know too much about it, but yeah.
So craniosacral massage, that has been magical for me.
Oh yeah.
I met this. I occasionally go to this healer when I need some like deep work done, and he does a combination of Reiki and craniosacral. So craniosacral, you just put a nickel's amount of pressure in a certain energy meridian in the body, and you just hold it there, and with intention and I guess through Reiki, it just starts unwinding and unweaving.
And you feel it.
Yeah. Like this is so this process is so intense for me. And like I used to have to go see him more often, previously before I started getting deeper in my yogic practices. But my body is also kind of like downloaded the codes. And so like what happens is when I've done this massage, like it kind of just, my body just starts moving in a pattern where it just, if I just let it flow in, like I'm kind of doing it right now, like it just
really
starts unwinding and
exactly
unweaving.
I feel you. I do that too.
But like I learned this code from him. But like through this craniosacral, it's just like oftentimes I feel like it's said in massage that you need to put a lot of pressure on the knot, which I feel like to some extent that works, but I feel like more effectively is this.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, because it's working not in the muscle itself,
but and it's like the chi, the meridians, and it's like the acupressure points, like all that. And it's like subtlety.
Powerful work.
Actually, now that you mention it, my friend who also was a massage worker, he learned sacral,
craniosacral, I believe it's called.
Sacral, I think. But maybe. Whatever, we can verify. I'm not gonna fight about this. So he learned it, and he did massage on me, and like it was after, I don't know, it was just so powerful because he was literally doing like the pressure points all over my body. And because I'm conscious of just like how I use my breath, I was just like like sighing all the time because there was it's so powerful.
It just releases so much.
Literally, he was like, "You're so good at releasing energy." I'm like, "Thank you." Like that's a compliment because you got to work for this shit.
That's what my dude, like he said that to me too. He's like, not too many of my patients are like yoga's crazy, but like you do it, and it just like it just like unwinds and unweaves, and it's just like it's intense.
It's like it's just coming out of you. And I used the copper rods that I got from my friend Vivian, and it was just, I feel like it helped like amplify that release. So it was powerful. Copper.
Copper is very powerful. If you haven't noticed her copper glass.
Copper.
Oh, I don't think that's in frame anymore, but it was.
Oh wait, let me bring it up. Copper.
Copper. I only drink out of copper water like nowadays. It's been a few years now, but I feel like
you feel a shift, a difference?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I feel like my immune system is so much stronger. I feel like my metabolism is so much faster.
Nice. Yeah.
There's like a mile-long list. If you go look at the benefits of drinking out of copper,
post. Yeah.
It's a huge list of benefits. It's crazy. Like it regulates your blood pressure. It regulates like so much stuff. It's gnarly.
I need a jug like the size that I carry.
It's gonna be too heavy though.
And
she carries this massive jug, like a gallon glass bottle with her everywhere she goes.
It's already heavy. Yeah, it's a gallon.
It's crazy.
But
I tried that. I would just carry multiple bottles. It's so much easier.
Yeah, that's true. I always tend to lose things like that though, like that size. I don't know why. Really? I've always lost them.
So you have to have the massive one with
you? Like, oh, it's right here. Like I'll never miss it. You know? But yeah, I feel you. It might be too heavy.
So you mentioned a doula earlier. Or what is a doula?
So a doula literally translates, I think it's German or Dutch, into servant.
Oh.
Literally. And in a sense, energetically, that's what you're doing, because a servant, in a sense, I mean, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
But
I did not know that.
Like in that energetic sense, like that's what you're doing. You're being of service and surrendering to life, because you're helping. I mean, a doula is someone who supports pregnant women, either before birth, postnatal, during your pregnancy, and postpartum.
But there's also death doulas too.
And there's also death doulas and abortion doulas. I learned the full spectrum, not necessarily like death doula, because I feel like you need to take another training for that. But they did teach us how to like hold space for people who are choosing or not choosing to have an abortion or have a miscarriage, you know, and do ceremony around that. Because a lot of this work is, even the Sobada, the doula, being a doula, it's like you're in ceremony with the divine, with life itself, literally, you know? So it's honoring that first. And the servant aspect of it is like the fact that you're surrendering to life, and you're leaving your ego out of the way. Like you're not making it about you. Like even if the birthing person that helped you wanted a natural birth, but in that moment when it's time and she's actually giving birth and it's gonna become too complicated where you need like the hospital, like you have to roll with the punches. Like you have to still respect what she's choosing to do in that moment. So it's kind of sometimes like life, right? Like you can plan all you want, but sometimes you don't actually do what you wanted to do. Like life takes you somewhere else. And it's like respecting that and not getting, and the ego aspect of putting your ego out of this, it's like you're not trying to stick to what you had planned. It's like, no, we're flowing with what's here right now. And obviously we're still checking in with the birthing person, but literally that can always shift and change. And it's like, we got to get out of the way to like help, literally.
Wait, you know? So like as a doula, what are you doing to assist in the birthing process then?
So there's like doulas that, so it's like all up to the doula's capacity too, because you're learning it full spectrum, but there's some doulas that are only available for like pre-birth care, you get me? And there's some doulas that are just available for the day that you are giving birth, and they meet with you maybe 3 times prior to you giving birth through your trimester. And then there's doulas that only help you during postpartum. And there's some doulas that will help you through the whole process. You know, it's also like us taking care of ourselves so we can take care of other people. So that's a big one.
They're almost like caretaker, bedside caretaker, or they're they're daily. It said like they're only like once every so often.
Yeah, so it varies. Like some people, you know, it's also about connecting with your doula and like finding what doula or who is right for you and your needs too. A doula can meet with you, like let's say someone's pregnant and they're very like anxious person, and this is like their first pregnancy though, so sometimes it creates more anxiousness and like worriness. Like the doula can help you emotionally and just be there for you and guide you. And like it can be anything. It can be body work, it can be breath work, it can be massage, it can be spiritual, or like, oh, we just want to go out and grab coffee because I don't have the support, and I feel lonely, because a lot of women say that pregnancy, even though some have the support, it still feels lonely. So imagine when someone actually doesn't have the physical support, how lonely they feel.
Yeah.
So it's just like it can be anything, literally, like you're like a friend during, and like hand in hand. And like our job too as doulas is obviously what I stated, like getting out of the way so you can actually be of true service to the person. And also just like building their oxytocin, because trust is a big factor in birth. Just like, when you create a baby, and this is what my teacher Sumi, my doula teacher,
Wait, your teacher's name is Sumi?
Sumi,
So
Sumaya.
funny. I have that as a nickname sometimes. Don't
Oh
you call
yeah,
me Sumi
I wanted to
sometimes?
call you
Yeah.
that. Yeah. She told us that she would always talk about in class, and that was one of the big things that we studied too, which at that point, honestly, it didn't make sense to me, but now it makes a lot more sense. How sex is just like birth, and birthing is just like sex. Obviously, not only because you have sex to birth right now in this
Yeah.
reality dimension, but the trust, when you love someone and you have that connection, and like you're really going into it and like being intentional about your sex, it creates a lot of trust and oxytocin. So as doulas, we have to continue feeding oxytocin, obviously not through sex, but through like support, emotional, mental, physical, like being their friend, like being there for them, like, oh, your back hurts, like, oh, I know how to like suit that, and like teaching her how to do it, but also whoever's supporting her, because it's not always like a dad, sometimes it's the family or whatever, whoever is a support system. And if they have one, like teaching them also how to be able to hold space for them, and like even allow them to let their ego get out of the way, because there's a lot of things that new parents like new, let's say, new realizations, like, oh, this happened in my family, but I don't want that anymore in my family. So they set new rules when baby's coming or something. And like sometimes the parents get mad, or like, but it's like, no, like this is not your birth, this is their birth, and we got to respect that, even if it doesn't make sense to you. It's their experience, and we have to honor that. And that's like, in different ways, that's not honored in life, in your daily day-to-day. And that's how a lot of excuse me, that's how a lot of things get like violated, or like, dismissed and stuff like that. But emotional connection is like everything to life.
So then is this, you have brought something into my awareness, conscious birthing. And as you've been bringing that into my awareness, I've actually been starting to just, the universe seems to be teaching me this a little bit more about the conscious process of birthing, and how we need to be conscious about sex. The act of sex is a ritualistic process, and if we are not conscious of it, then we are going to bring in a lower vibrational being versus a higher vibrational being.
And it's true, a lot of people don't want to admit that, or like when that topic is brought up, they get offended. But it's like, it's true, it's a thing, and we have to honor that too, that truth.
And so then what is conscious birthing? And then is doula and Sobada related to conscious birthing?
Yeah, definitely, because you're teaching your body how to care for itself. Like right now in society, the norm usually for a woman is to give birth at the hospital and get all these injections, like the pitocin and epidural and all these things that are not natural. And the reason why they're doing this literally is because the doctor that's there working needs to be
let's
at
just
lunch,
it's the drug
at dinner. You get me?
Developing these things.
Yeah.
That are pushing these onto doctors.
But they're pushing. The doctor is literally just rushing the birthing process because he's trying to get to dinner at 6 p.m. That's what I'm trying to say. And so he's rushing literally something that should have never been rushed in the first place.
Oh, so these drugs like stimulate the birth to go faster.
Yeah, but it also brings complications. You get me? And like that's the importance of our birth story, is what my teacher Sumaya and like a lot of other people talk about, like the importance of like knowing your birth story and like seeing how it can affect you. But going back to, what was your original question? I feel like I haven't fully answered that.
Conscious birthing.
Oh yeah, conscious
What
birthing.
is conscious birthing?
So it can, yeah, so doula, like the sobadas, play a crucial role because you're bringing awareness to what's normal in society right now is not normal. Like rushing the process is not normal. So that's working with your own cycles and your own energy and with like literally the universe, right? Because you're not gonna rush like the birthing process. But I mean, it's a thing. But like slowly, as more people are being aware of this, it's like it's also taking care of your health. Like there's in Mexico, I've read that Mayan culture back then when they were still like not colonized, pre-colonization, which is important because their connection to the earth was like untethered, and I've heard even in Aztec peoples that we consciously birthed to the point where like the spirit of the child literally either came to us consciously or in a dream and was like, oh, I want to be born through you. And then it would either be the mom receiving this message or perhaps the father.
Really?
But what I read, it was the mother receiving this message. And if she was partnered already, obviously she knew who the dad was, right? But if she wasn't partnered, and that's the importance too of like rights and like honoring life at different stages, because the elders, like the elder council, was important because they guided us, how to live in reciprocity with the earth. So the woman would go to the elders and tell them about the dream, and they would literally find the perfect partner for her to birth that child. And this was also according to what the purpose of the child was going to be. So the child's purpose was already known before it was even physically conceived. And it's like, how far removed are we from that knowledge right now? Like, very. I mean, not everybody, like, we're remembering that, but,
How do they go about ascertaining that?
I'm sorry?
How do they go about figuring that out?
I'm not sure. It didn't go into details. I'm sure that's like just something sacred, but I'm sure that there's also people on this earth now that are going to remember that knowledge to share with everyone eventually,
Huh. That's really cool.
I know. It's magical.
And so like as more people start shifting into this knowledge of conscious birthing, what do you think would happen to the planet?
Well, think about it, because like a lot of people too right now are misusing their sexual energy in all kinds of ways, right? But when it comes to sex, I mean, sadly, some people are having babies because of rape, Some people are settling in connections and they're not happy and they're bringing baby. Like, of course, that's going to be more of a painful birth. Like if everything was pure, like the pain wouldn't be there so much. Like that's how much we're connected to the earth too as women collectively. It's like because of all the suffering in the earth, a lot of people's birthing experience is painful because of the pain of Mother Earth, literally.
Huh. So is birth naturally not meant to be painful then?
Well, I don't know that answer fully, but I know that there are women.
Because I know in the Bible it said that there was a period in time when birth was not painful, right? And then
I don't know.
I feel like I read this in the Bible. It was in something.
Yeah.
But like I think there was like a shift in time where birthing became painful.
Yeah, and that's a thing.
Or something like that.
I don't know, but that's the thing. Like our connection, and the Earth Pleiadian book, we'll talk about that. Our connection with the Earth as women is so prominent that once they stopped honoring the feminine as goddess and as divinity, obviously birth was more painful in the collective because there was shame, now there was like pain, now there was suffering. You get me? And that wasn't normal before.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to come back to like our true nature, literally, and knowing our purpose, because once people are birthing consciously and like knowing why their child is coming and stuff like that, it's like you're already knowing, so there's nothing to figure out. Now it's just like doing your purpose. And that's different because a lot of people right now, at whatever age, because they didn't even come in consciously knowing their purpose, it's like a lot of people are miserable. A lot of people are rid of full of anxiety, full of depression. Like a lot of people are doing a lot of like demonic things because they don't know how to love themselves nor know their purpose, you know. So it's like
a lot of people don't know their purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why too, that's one of my prayers for the collective, like for everyone to just like find their purpose, because then we'd all be less miserable, and we wouldn't, like, for example, when I go to stores, grocery stores, it's like people wouldn't be giving me attitude if they knew what their purpose was. And then also, like, knowing our purpose eradicates a lot of like jealousy and envy, because it's like once you know your own purpose, like you're kind of just like on your path. But it's like that's not a thing that's so common right now. You get me?
But we're also in a system where it's designed to need people to do things in the capitalist economy. That will be shifting, though.
I mean, yeah, that's shifting
as
as
AI
well.
and robotics comes in and starts taking people out of the workplace and really just shifting what work means.
Yeah.
I think as truth is getting revealed, maybe more consciousness will come into birthing. Maybe people just start shifting into knowing their purpose more as we're shifting, as people are forced to be shift out of the workplace environment because of being replaced by AI and robotics.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like it's happening in all ways through different points of views, you know, but it's happening
in all ways.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why birth is so important, because it affects everything from the moment you were born, you know.
So is Sobada specifically for women who are trying to get pregnant then?
Sobada,
or is it like kind of like can be used to
like to prep? Yeah, it's everything. It's for people who have given birth. It's for people who are trying to conceive. It's for people that are probably not even like trying to conceive, but they have like menstrual periods, like very heavy ones or painful ones. Like this will ease, because as you're massaging, you're going into the subtle body and like clearing the stagnancy, the crystallized like pain or disease or whatever.
Oh, interesting.
And obviously that translates to them in their life also, like going through healing stages, you know, whether that be emotional, mental, spiritual, physical ailments and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then so what's the importance of like what are some proper ways of caring for the womb aside from working with the womb Sobada that women can take on themselves?
There's so many ways. One of them is literally just like connecting to your womb. Like if you've never even had a connection to your womb, you can just like literally bring awareness to it. And it's something simple as like maybe sitting down or laying down and like holding your womb, you know. And sometimes when we're so disconnected from it, it's because we have so much trauma that maybe we don't want to deal with because it's painful. You get me? Maybe our ancestors never taught us that healing is a thing. And like we're the first ones to break that like generational like curse or like cycle, you know? So it's like just bringing awareness, and like prayer is very important, and like being intentional about it, like in an energetic way, but also like eating like nourishing foods that are good for your body, like eating warm foods in the morning, you know, like that's a main one. And also like learning how to keep your body warm, so that can symbolize like also to like putting yourself first, you get me? And like cutting, because a lot of women like through programming like we're told to be people pleasers, you know, and like really cutting that shit off and like putting yourself first. Like it's like a spiral, right? Because we're connected to the water too. It's like a spiral. It's like it starts with you and then it goes outwards, not the other way around. So in a sense, the Sobada energetically helps like bring that back to like normalcy, you know, quote unquote, or or back to like caring for yourself and then your community, not just like and then just being like you know. So yeah, that's one of the ways to care for yourself. There's so many ways. Like you can drink a lot of herbs that are helpful for your fertility, because even though you're not like, let's say you're not trying to conceive, but for being fertile is still important, because being fertile and healthy in your womb is like your ability to create not only babies but your life, your reality, you know. So it's just it's a lot of different things.
Okay.
and different ways to care for it.
I love that. I mean, I feel like a big part that I want with this is to share practices and processes that people can take immediately and apply and assess and then apply into their lives if they feel is worthwhile. And so I love that these practices that you shared. And obviously if they're interested, I'll put your information in the description. If they're interested in working with you, can you do it remotely too?
The Sobada, no, it has to be in person.
Okay.
Which is sad because a lot of my clients that I have right now are just like, damn, I can't believe it. We'll leave that for next time. But yeah, it's not remote, this one, but I could do Reiki remote. So that's still like, if we focus on the womb, it'll activate something,
Okay. Mm-hmm. There's two more things that I know we wanted to talk about. What is like the importance of women knowing the power of their bodies and working with their own cycles? And we kind of touched on it, but like working within their own cycles. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, definitely. So this has been something that I have been doing for like the last year, like more consciously. Like I've always known all these different ways to care for your body, like from yoni steams to like nourishing food, like the tea that I made, like that's nourishing in its own way, Tracking your cycles is very important. So working with your period, because we have a period and it's like there's 4 different cycles. So the main one is the menstrual cycle, so when we bleed. So if it's, let's assume there's 7 days out of the week, right? And if there's 4 weeks, then each week is like a cycle. But obviously it's not always Sunday through Monday. It's different for everyone. And some women bleed with the moon and some full moon, and some women bleed with the new moon, and some women bleed in the wax, what is it called, the waxing and like
crescent.
What's the other
waning
one?
Crescent.
Waning. Yeah, I've never known how to say that. I always say it in my head, but not out loud. Waning. The waning moon.
It's a funny sounding word, waning.
Yeah, or is it waning? I'm just kidding. No, it's
good
not.
Question,
waning
actually.
Sounds good.
So I guess it depends on where you're from.
Yeah, exactly.
Potato.
Yeah, exactly. Tomato. So there's your menstruation is like the main one, and then like the next one is follicular state, which is like when your body is getting ready to ovulate. So that's a big deal too. Like every stage has importance to it and meaning to it. And then there's also the ovulation stage. So that's when those are the 6 days out of the week that you can potentially get pregnant.
Okay.
And that's why too birth control isn't normal, because they make us think that we can get pregnant, whatever, and we have to be scared and we have to take these pills and our body has to be all out of whack just to like control birth. Like, no, we control birth even before birth control,
Wait, so like there's days that you can have sex and not have birth?
Exactly.
Oh, really?
And every woman should know that, because why are we taking birth control? There's no need to. And there's also herbs that if you got some sperm inside you while you were ovulating, there's herbs that you can take to kill the spermicides.
Oh.
Like, you don't gotta be taking birth control that's fucking everything up. Like, it's literally also messing up your hormones, so you can't like attract the right partner, because attracting the right partner like matters a lot when it comes to like our natural scent. And that's why like wearing all these perfumes that are fake and stuff like that also makes you attract the wrong people. So it's all about like pheromones, hormones, oxytocin, like the chemicals,
Interesting.
Excuse me.
I've been kind of starting to notice that actually a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Regarding deodorant, actually.
Yeah.
I saw this video. I've been seeing this video kind of trending through on Instagram lately, where this older lady is talking about the ills of deodorant, and like how when we perspirate, that's our body's last defense mechanism to releasing toxins out of the body.
Yeah.
When we haven't been able to excrete it either through our urine or through our feces or another way. But then when we put on deodorant, that's a blocker, and it's like saying, no, you can't dispose of these toxins here. And then what's happening is the toxins are now coming back in specifically for women, and that's why apparently
breast cancer.
we've seen an increase in breast cancer
Yeah,
because of blocking the the
yeah,
toxins from escaping.
yeah, and we have big lymph nodes here
Yeah.
by our breast, so it's like we need that to be able to like release. Yeah.
But another crazy thing is that they're actually starting to see an increase in breast cancer in men,
Well, yeah,
which is
because they're
much more
using
aggressive than in women because of the same
of the
thing.
yeah, exactly,
Which is
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah.
And so I've been actually kind of going through this thing of
Yeah.
like using more natural deodorant and finding
Yeah.
more natural solutions.
Yeah, natural everything.
Yeah. But she was saying the only thing that we should be using for our pits is soap, wash it,
Yeah.
or vinegar and
Oh,
water
okay,
to
yeah.
just like clean it.
Or you know, some people use lime.
I try,
But I know it doesn't work for everyone.
The other day I was at the theater.
Yeah.
I was doing a show, and I forgot to put deodorant on. My pits were a little bit stinky, and I eat super clean, but like my pits still get stinky sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I forgot to put deodorant on, and I had a grapefruit with me that I was like eating.
You put that?
And I was like, huh. And this woman is like, why don't you just like try using the grapefruit? I'm like,
you're right.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And so I took a grapefruit peel and I rubbed it under my pits.
Yeah.
It's staying like a mother.
Oh yeah. Did it help?
But it actually worked.
Oh nice. That's good to know.
But it also made my pits like super dry.
Oh.
So like, but I'm wondering.
What about grapefruit and oil or something?
Maybe I'm now trying to figure out like how to make a natural deodorant. But like watching this video, oil would also kind of clog the pore, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's why we would have to probably use like a light oil, like not castor, not
like
even olive oil. I've heard olive oil is even like clogs.
Really?
Yeah, and
I use vitamin E oil in my face and my hair, and that's
it's great. Good. Yeah, I feel like vitamin E will be perfect too because it's vitamin E, so it has an extra benefit. Or even jojoba oil.
Maybe jojoba oil.
Jojoba.
I think it's actually pronounced jojoba though.
Yeah, it's jojoba.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe we'll have to do an episode on this before you leave.
Yeah. But yeah, I still wanted to touch base on the menstruation cycles and the importance on that. So there's menstruation, follicular, ovulation, and then it's the last one, it's luteal. So that's after your body, because like for ovulation, it's like also it's like our body's like so like turned on in a way, and it's creative and it has more energy. So it's like if you're not trying to conceive for a baby, you're at least building that energy up to create your life and however that looks for you, you know. Yeah.
Interesting.
So he's probably not coming out and we're just like looking down like, what are they looking at? So yeah, the importance of
we have a cat. My cat has kind of just come out to say hello.
Himself. Yeah. So that's the importance of the cycles, because once you learn how to chart that, which I have a chart here, I want to show it really briefly.
Yeah.
Because it's a circular cycle, like even that too, it's like to track your cycles, like you're doing it in a circle. You get me? Like look at this. This is a way to track your cycle. So you can track your cycle like that according to the month and the moon cycles, and then according to that you can literally, like for me, the way that's changed my life now, it's been of because now it's like my business is out since April 5th and I'm just like seeing clients constantly, and I'm not seeing any clients when I'm bleeding, because that's a very internal time. Like women in the past like would literally go on their period when they were bleeding, they would go to the mountains and have like alone time. You know, like they would leave their villages and their tribe and community to go to the mountains to have like that time with like spirit, because we're like very open, you know. And that can be, for me, the way I use my cycles too, which is important. It's like when I'm in my luteal phase, after ovulation, luteal is like your energy levels are going down. So when I'm in my luteal, I usually tune into the things that I will be releasing energetically, physical, emotional, mentally from my life during my period. So to me, my blood is an offering to like regeneration of life, you know. So in luteal, I usually things start popping up that I have to like release. And then during my moon, I usually always cry before the day that I like get my period. And I'm like, oh, I'm crying because I'm probably going to get my period, you know. And then now I've allowed myself to not see anyone, to not do a lot of exercise. Like I'm not running when I'm on my period, like for that whole week. Like I'll run, like now I'm going to start running tomorrow because now I'm off my period. But I don't run. I take it easy. I make sure I feed myself and rest when I need to. And literally that's made such a difference in just like my overall being and like my peace of mind and peace of being, you get me? And like imagine like also like planning your life around that, like, oh, I'm probably going to be on my period, so I probably shouldn't do like these high energy activities then. Or like even meeting with people when I'm on my period, I try not to see clients nor a lot of like activities, you get me, because I just want to rest. And even with work, I don't work that much. And then also once I'm follicular, I start the exercise again, the running. I start just like planning more out, and naturally I just feel like doing more. And then when I'm ovulating, that's when I feel like a peak of energy of just like, yeah, like I can do everything, like I'm unstoppable. And it's like I'll be like doing the squats and stuff like that, you know, and eating like just like probably lighter too, because I naturally just have more energy
flowing through.
Yeah, and because it's summer, so my body's just craving like fresh things, you know. Yeah, and that's the thing too with like knowing your cycle and your own flow. It's like it's so layered too. Like it can be like your emotional needs and like tracking your emotional needs and how they shift, like the food that you're eating and what you're feeding yourself, you know, at certain like stages. And then your exercise too. And also it can be like, oh, now I'm gonna plan all these things to accomplish when I'm ovulating. But then like once I'm back on luteal, I'll probably start slowing down and integrating more of the last cycle kind of energy, you know. And that's such a life changer in all kinds of ways. Yeah.
Interesting. That's that makes me wonder if like, I mean, that seems like a really wholeful, balanced cycle that you live by, and a very conscious way to live.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder now if like there's similar cycles for men. And I know that Sadhguru has spoken of this actually, where like women's cycles are more easily and visibly pronounced. Men's are much more subtle, and they tend to be a little bit longer, I think. But this makes me curious. I want to research this now to see if like there's a more harmonious cycle to live by. I feel like I'm just driven. I have my sub-personalities, and I have some sub-personalities that are a little bit more dominating than others. And I have one that's just really like the master and commander, the whipper, and he's like, go. And that's what's in control right now. It's like,
exactly.
I surrender to you.
yeah, and that's the thing too. I'm like, that would be. I have heard that guys do have their own cycles. I'm not too familiar with it at all, but I would love to learn, and I would love to learn if you learn it and you share that wisdom with me, and see like whenever you integrate it into your life and how, you know. But I have heard that women have like our monthly cycles, that men have more of a day-to-day cycles, like 24-hour cycles.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't know how that plays a part in anything, but that's what I've heard.
I do have cycles of depression, and I just naturally, my being is generally naturally inclined towards depression. And so I have cycles of when it comes about. I've found healthy ways of learning to understand where the energy is coming from and how to use the energy to shift, or to find what's off balance. Really, I found that it's a compass, it's a guiding system to show what's out of balance and where to focus attention on to create more balance.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that's how I've used it. And I think that's a cycle that kind of comes around for me often. But the other cycles, I think I could still grow more awareness on.
Yeah, that would be wonderful to know. Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to talk about, it was something weird that you had mentioned to me, going back to birthing, orgasmic birthing. What is that?
So orgasmic birthing is when you're actually giving birth, and instead of feeling pain, you're literally having an orgasm like you did when you created this baby. I mean, saying that you did make this baby out of like full pleasure.
Is that really possible?
You know? Yeah.
Do women actually experience that now?
I know. I don't know them personally, but because of my doula and like the womb sobadas and just like all the woman stuff that I've done ever since I have been, since 2016. Because I've also hosted a lot of women's circles in the past and stuff like that with a few sisters. All the stories that we've shared are so empowering because it literally a handful, at least 10 stories that I know that people had orgasmic births, you
Wow.
know, where you're literally, it feels pleasurable, or at least you're working with your breath to like integrate the pain rather than just being like, I'm scared and like freaking out, you know.
Oh, so do you
So
think
that's
the
also
fear
part of
the pain comes from
consciousness.
fear of like the
Fear
process
of
of like
not
bringing the
knowing,
life?
because no one teaches us like these like ceremonial ways of being or birthing. You get me? We've lost touch of that since the family unit has been attacked.
Interesting.
Yeah, so all these things are so connected, you know.
That's so fascinating.
And also because of the pain of the state of the world with like divine feminine energy and how a lot of people are abusing it, like that's why we as women, because we're all connected, like we feel pain. But obviously the more conscious you bring into this process, like the more that you can shift your reality and not have it be like the status quo or whatever, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's why healing and like working with our wounds and just honoring our womanhood in all ways, our sensuality and our sexuality. And yeah, healing is important.
Beautiful. Well, I think that's a lovely place to end.
Yeah.
Lilia, I'm glad that we finally, after a day of trying to record, made
It
this
literally
work.
took 8 hours.
I know. Thank you for your patience.
Good.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, fam, for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you got a lot out of it, as much as I did. And I also request you to please like this if you enjoyed it, and hit subscribe, because I've got some really cool new episodes lined up that will be coming within the coming weeks. So coming within the coming weeks? Yeah, I guess so. So hit that subscribe button and hit the like button, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I am excited to continue bringing you some awesome interviews with some awesome people, and I have some interesting challenges I'm working on myself too, so I'll be posting those as we go. Thanks, guys.